Would you believe it if I told you that Ubisoft is in the news again for laying off and shutting down another section of their company? Because they did that. And there's a controversy brewing with this where there's an argument to be made that it's due to union busting, and they're just blaming it on their companies falling apart. Pirate Nation.x, Ubisoft closes its Halifax studio, which had recently unionized, though the company claims it had nothing to do with it. 71 jobs lost. The studio was actively working on mobile projects for Rainbow Six and Assassin's Creed via Video Games Chronicle, which is Ubisoft has closed its Halifax studio. It's confirmed to Video Games Chronicle, but claimed that the decision is unrelated to workers' recent decision to unionize, because of course it is. For those that don't know, it is illegal to let people go after they decide to create a union. So what companies typically do is they blame it on, it's market conditions and we can't afford to keep the studio running. Ironically, the same people that just unionized. Ubisoft has closed its Halifax studio, claims the decision is unrelated to recent unionization. 70 roles are affected at the Assassin's Creed Rebellion studio. Ubisoft has closed its Halifax, Canada studio, could result in around 70 employees losing their jobs. In an email sent to staff on Wednesday, reviewed by Video Games Chronicle, Ubisoft said it had decided to close Ubisoft Halifax as part of a company-wide cost-cutting and restructuring measures. Halifax is the studio behind mobile title Assassin's Creed Rebellion. Only last month, Ubisoft Halifax workers formed a union with around 60 workers signing up to the Game and Media Workers Guild of Canada. Ubisoft claimed the decision to close Halifax was made well before this decision and said it fully respects employees' rights to unionize, which, I mean, they have to say that legally to cover their ass. But what's more likely to have happened here is they caught wind of that studio gathering together and potentially looking to unionize. And then they started sending emails internally at upper management being like, hey, yeah, we got to start considering shutting this studio down. So then when they do get to the lawsuit portion of this, they can point back to those emails saying, yeah, no, we were talking about this a month or two before that happened. And we knew that we were going to close this studio. Update, union responds. CWA Canada has said it will pursue every legal recourse to defend union members impacted by Ubisoft Halifax's closure. Before I even go on with this, it said 70 or 71 or even more people may be let go from the studio total. Only 60 of them voted yes for the union. What a kick in the balls to be one of the people working there saying no and still getting laid off. I wonder if the union would fight for you too. In a statement sent to Game Developer, it said the timing of the decision raises many questions for which we do not have answers, and that it would be demanding information from Ubisoft to understand why it decided to shut down the studio. Today's news is devastating, said CWA Canada President Carmel Smith. We will pursue every legal recourse to ensure that the rights of these workers are respected and not infringed in any way. So there's going to be most likely legal action, and they're going to be demanding the courts to request the documentation and emails and the dates of those emails proving that this was a decision made prior to the unionization vote happening. But then it's going to get into the weeds and the minutia of, well, did they catch wind of this earlier than the vote? When did they catch wind of this? Is there any internal messages discussing that? And if that gets found out, then it's going to be you can't do this. That's a major, major issue. And there's going to be problems there. But then again, this is Ubisoft we're talking about right now. So the company is falling apart. It's at an all-time low for a stock. Again, I mean, every single day that goes by, it seems like it hits a new low. So it isn't surprising that they're shutting a division down on top of all that. Over the past 24 months, Ubisoft has undertaken company-wide actions to streamline operations, improve efficiency, and reduce costs, a spokesperson told Video Games Chronicle. As part of this, Ubisoft has made the difficult decision to close its Halifax studio. 71 positions will be affected. We are committed to supporting all impacted team members, blah, 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 all the HR mumbo jumbo. Assassin's Creed Rebellion, a free-to-play strategy RPG launched in 2018. However, its revenues have steadily declined, prompting the recent decision to end live operations and stop producing new content for the game. Well, that's the other thing is like if you're working on a mobile game that came out in 2018, that's getting a little long in the tooth for a mobile game. And if you're not making the money back on the people that are working at the studio to support 71 salaries, what are they working on? What do they do? What are they going into work and doing every day? Was there a new game that they were working on that got canceled? Or were they just working on that game, providing updates every day? It's been a turbulent year for the Assassin's Creed publisher, which late last year opened a new subsidiary part owned by Tencent, Vantage Studios, which now oversees its biggest franchises. Tencent holds a 25% stake in the new subsidiary and will act as an advisory role with final creative and business decisions resting with co-CEOs Christophe Derennes and Charles Guimont. Ubisoft claims it's shifting towards a less centralized operating model in an attempt to give creative teams more ownership of their brands that they work on. I do find it curious that this is happening to Assassin's Creed game that is now quote unquote controlled by the Tencent formed studio that they own 25% of. And it makes me wonder if Tencent was the one saying, yeah, close that studio. It's not worth keeping it open. Oh, and they're unionizing? Definitely close that studio. Because imagine, by the way, imagine if they did unionize and everything went through and it was all good to go, and then it closed on them, and the decision got made after that. There'd be massive potential legal faults with that. And there might still be, even with the timing of it right now. Legendary drops on X. Yeah, something tells me it wasn't because they unionized. Ubisoft stock over the past, 5 years, down 92.92%. Which I find interesting because you get on the other side of things, Tom Henderson, who is the owner of Insider Gaming. Ubisoft has had some lows in recent years, but it seems like a lot of people are looking forward to what they have been working on, which is a refreshing change. I am extremely excited about their pipeline of games over the next 2 years, and their next UB Forward should be massive. Curious because the investors don't see it that way. And Ubisoft is allegedly in $2 billion plus worth of debt and falling fast from that, even with Tencent coming in and buoying some of their franchises. Grums.x, Ubisoft shut down a studio that made Assassin's Creed Rebellion. Gosh, but they had the ratio and everything. Now, for those that don't know, he's referencing how Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed account ratioed Grums, saying at least our game came out or something like that, trying to make fun of how Grums is allegedly working on a game, Ember, and there's a controversy surrounding him and how he's crowdfunded it and not provided a game, and many years have passed. So Assassin's Creed just did an easy dunk on Grump saying, hey, at least our game came out. Kind of like saying, like, what, you can't even talk, bro. What are you doing on here? Which was great popcorn fodder for social media. But at the end of the day, like, Grums is still on X. Ubisoft is not really doing very well when it comes to the stock market. IGN covered this as well. They said Ubisoft has shut down its Halifax studio just 1 month after 61 of the 71 workers voted to unionize. People are cracking up in the comments too. Classic union busting move. Figures. Will the union return them their subscription fee? Welcome home. Unions equal cancer. Another studio closure. Another one. I've said this before too, and every time it happens when it comes to unions, I always like to get on my soapbox and say, like, unions in gaming don't work. Unions in entertainment in general are a shit show. Sure, you got the Screen Actors Guild and you have a bunch of unions in the movie industry and stuff like that. But in the video game industry, it's a very different kind of environment where not every game is being backed by massive AAA money. And the massive AAA money that's backing the game isn't guaranteed that when the game comes out, it's going to make the money that it comes out. And then when the game comes out, they might not have another game for you to work on after that. The unions are trying to claim like, oh, you need to make sure this person's guaranteed a salary, this amount of hours, and that when the game comes out, that you won't lay them off after it. Well, shit, why would I keep someone hired at my company if I don't have anything for them to do? That doesn't make any logical sense at all. In the game industry, that happens a lot. It was one of the things when I worked at Sony Online that I was told when I was hired as a temp from a temp agency. They're like, you could be there for 1 week and the next week they don't need you anymore. Happened all the time. For me, I was very lucky. It never happened to me. But going in every single week, I was like, this could be the week where they're like, we don't need you anymore. So it's a very touch and go situation in the game industry. But you know that going into it when you sign up for it. It pays shit. The hours are shit. The crunch time is shit. The company environment, the people there, it's very nice, very fun. Lots of ping pong, chess, arcades, multiplayer games during breaks and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's a great environment. Don't get me wrong. But it's also like a lot of work. And the pay that they pay you to do it, to me, is just, it can be worth it if you love doing it, but it's not sustainable. Like you can't, especially like when I was living in California with it, I'm like, I can't afford to live and pay rent when I was single off the money that they were paying for it. So I don't know how people survive in the game industry with the low pay, but they do it. And you got to do it out of love and passion. And this day and age, there's no excuses for people because you have all the tools at your disposal to do it on your own, especially with AI coming into the fray. Anyone can be an independent developer. Just get to ChatGPT, learn to code, work with it, and create what your passion is. I think too often people expect like an easy road to just be paid for them, be like, I go in, clock in, make my money, go home. It's like, it doesn't work like that. It very rarely ever did work like that. And a lot of these communists coming into the game industry think that, yeah, we'll just make our money and put our legs up every day. It's like, no, you need to actually work. And it doesn't work in the game industry. So while Ubisoft is claiming that it's not union busting, I think it kind of is, just based off of the timing. It's very sus. I'll keep you guys posted if there's any updates to it, but for now, I'll leave that there.